don't have to worry about the security. The other things, among the things that we are doing, or the things that we have done already in Great Oasis Gardens, we have already done the marking fence, and the roads, the internal roads are already happening. We have started the maraming the road, and we are still in the process of doing the maraming of the internal roads. And we are also sinking a borehole so that we ensure that our investors in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, will not struggle with water. We are also going to elevate a water tower so that we have a constant supply of water in this project. And we also have a caretaker on site. The caretaker is on site and he's there 24/7. And then we also have different sizes in this project. We are having 8, we are having quarters, we are having halves, and we are also having acres. One can buy in bulk, you can buy in big chunks, and that is why we are saying in Great Oasis Gardens Nanyuki, we are saying that bigger is better. In this project, what you can invest in, you can invest in private schools, you can also do holiday homes, whereby you can do Airbnb, you can also do holiday homes and then you start renting, and you can also build houses and sell. You can also do apartments in this area. You can also do supermarkets. You can also build a mall and then you start renting. There is so much that you can do in this project because it is not controlled development. We are also located along Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, and this road is being proposed to be tarmacked by the government. So coming from Nanyuki, or coming from wherever you be coming from, it will be very easy to access the project because it is touching the Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, which is going to be tarmacked by the government. My number is +254 722 355 107. Do not be left behind. Call that number. I will work with you. If you are in Kenya, give me a call. We go for the site visit. We select the project. We start the payment. If you're in diaspora, send a representative, and I will be delighted to work with you. And as we say here in Lookuptv, we shine because you make us shine. God bless you. Thank you.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about the price of the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Today we are at St. John's Hospital here in Githurai. We are here in conjunction with Total Care Box.
Once again tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids.
Tumekuja hapa Gatora tukiwa na mwaliko wa kuitwa na watu wa Roto.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana Lotto Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo.
To the Lotto Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guys, we lack words. We lack words. We don't know what to say.
Mimi ya leo kwanza ni kushukuru Lotto Foundation wakiwa pamoja na Total Care kwa sababu ya kuangalia mama wetu.
Tumeshukuru sana kwa wao wageni wa Lotto Foundation kwa kututembelea hapa. Hatujawahi kutembelewa na watu wengine kama sisi wajane. Tumeshukuru, Mungu ambariki na amzidishe ule upendo na kwingine mnaenda, na tumemkaribisha tena na tena na tena.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Hapa ndio nimefika nyumba ya boxing.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri. I am so happy to see you, and today I am here to enumerate, to explain how we package our land investment. We have 5 levels of our property, and we classify these levels as 1 star, 2 stars, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. This is what we mean, that if you buy a property that is 1 star with Optiven, one of the things that is evident, the property is cheaper, is below $500,000. And this particular property is basically bare land. We only do subdivision, put the beacons, and then produce titles. The second level, we call it 2 star. This is prime land, whereby we grade the roads, we put a marking fence, do the beacons, and produce titles. The third level, we call it 3 stars. This 3 star is value added plots. We do the malam, we do the water, we do the mesh fence, and there's a caretaker on site. The fourth level is 4 star. 4 star is ready to build development. We do very nice maram roads, we plant the trees, we put the water tower, we also put a caretaker on site, and finally, the 5 star. The 5 star is premier, is the top level, and this one, we do cable roads, we do water management through underground culverts, we do underground power, we do fountain for water, we do beautiful and nice permanent gates, we do perimeter wall, and also do install the CCTV, and the whole property is manned by uniformed security. Some of these properties, these 5 star properties, we do a clubhouse and also construct swimming pool. Thank you once more for trusting Lookuptv. We value you. We are at Absa Plaza, 14th floor and 15th floor. God bless you.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about to price the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni Hapa Kazi Tu.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Well, brilliant it is today that you are rose, you are woke, and you're ready to shine. And of course, I hope that you radiate this same energy to the senior citizens. How was your weekend? October is here, and we are now on the 3rd day into the month. However, it starts very interestingly in October. And if you did not know, the 1st of October is a very special day, especially for our senior citizens or older persons. Now, if you didn't get a chance to celebrate somebody older near you, I'm giving you a chance today to do that also in the comment section, as I have decided, and we have decided on Lookuptv to extend this celebration into today on our conversation today, honoring the senior citizens. Now, you might ask yourself, what is Ankey talking about? Now, the 1st of October was, of course, according to UNIDOP, a call to action and opportunity with global representative on older women parliamentarians, among other people, and that is as far as governance is concerned. But now, this particular day is celebrated by raising awareness about issues affecting the elderly, such as, you know, common things, health, what they go through on a day-to-day basis, even matters education, and also to appreciate the contributions that older people make to the society. Now, a lot of times, and you have seen, even when new regimes begin, they start work and they look at the younger generation, they look at how the country is moving, the economy. Even when we look at, you know, modernization and digital, you know, how do we call that, movements, if I would use that word, a lot of people seem not to think more of the senior citizen. Now, let us appreciate our teachers this very morning and your older, you know, citizen near you today. The comment section is open. Let us begin the conversation with your comments, #TheMorningDrift. Now, this very morning, I am joined in studio by very great representatives. Remember, I said representatives on matters adult education, and that is Mr. Renson Wakome, who is an adult education teacher. It's so good to have you. How are you today?
I'm very fine. God, He has been keeping me well.
That is really nice to hear. I will come to ask you what exactly you did at Tumaini.
Yes.
For maybe the older persons as we come back to you. And also joining us this morning is Salome Tera, who is the County Director, Adult Education from the Ministry of Education. It's very good to have you, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank God.
I am curious, can we begin with you?
It's okay, fine.
1st of October is very instrumental and very vital. How did you celebrate it over the weekend?
Over the weekend, I was doing planning and activities to bring about awareness creation of the importance of adult education. It's an advocacy and publicity week in Eastleigh High School, where we are calling all those who never had a chance to go to school, youths from 15 years and above, to the elderly up to around 60 to 70 years.
Is it?
To come back to school and learn.
60 to 70 years?
Yeah, from 15 years old up to 60 to 70 years. And even if you're beyond 70 and you still can learn and come and learn. You also have, the beauty about it is that they come to class with the wealth of experience. It's not only being taught, it is sharing the experiences they have. The teachers learn from them some things that were never known by our teachers, because most of our teachers are young, a young crop.
Yes.
So we learn from them as we teach them. So they have facts and myths. So ours is to remove the myths and make sure the facts are clear.
I like that.
And make them be able to live in the community and enjoy being with us.
I like when you say that, enjoy being in the community and living with us. And you said something practically we can see. Mr. Renson is not too old, and he's a teacher as well. How is the experience like? First, how did you celebrate your 1st of October? And like she has rightfully put it, quite a number of you teachers are younger than some of the students. Please tell us how you celebrated the 1st of October and how your experience is so far as an adult education teacher.
The 1st of October, in the morning, I went to the showground.
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to feel the environment. It's long since we attended the show, the Nairobi Trade Fair, so I spent most of my time there, interacted with people from different walks of life.
Yes.
Learning from them, learning from organizations.
Great.
Learning agriculture, and I just embraced the environment, and I think I need to transfer that to my village.
Did you create the awareness on the importance of the 1st of October, or did you forget it?
Yes.
Because I'm sure if it was AIDS Day, they'd put tents around.
Okay, when I was walking around and interacted with some older people, some older generation, we discussed, some of them are learned, some of them are not learned, and we talked about how they view about adult education, their response, their feeling about it, and what they think about the government doing about it, and all other things that concern the adults. Yeah.
And we can't wait to hear their responses. We are really glad that you're here and you literally interact with these people. First, how they feel, and if they get enough support, if there's stigmatization as well, and if we've made any strides whatsoever. We're coming deeper into that conversation. First, once again, thank you for creating time. Now, if I just do a bit of introduction here, throughout the world, there are over 125 million school-age children who are not in school. Out of those, a significant number are from Africa. Although in 2015 was the target specified by the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, and Education for All, EFA initiatives to achieve universal primary access, many of these countries are far from reaching this goal. Now, limited economic and organizational resources constrain their ability to build and expand their education systems, yet the needs and demands for formal education in post-colonial Africa continues to grow. Now, adult and continuing education programs play a very crucial role in the development of aspect of any society. They are widely recognized as a powerful tool for eradicating adult illiteracy, reducing poverty, and attaining the MDGs. Thank you so much for what you do. You have understood that we're way, far way behind as a continent. Yeah. But how far are we as a country?
I still say we are still in the bush. And to make matters worse, the experience of COVID-19 has drawn us back. Because everybody knows what happened when the institutions were closed, the basic education institutions were closed. Many children went back home. Many parents lost their jobs. Many, because of the ills in the societies, ladies became pregnant. The school-going
very
age,
young,
very young.
Yes.
The boys went to look for jobs. So they're not yet back in the schools. There's no need to lie because of the economic hardship.
Two, 3 years down the line.
They are not yet, all of them are not back in the school. Some of them are still nursing their babies. Some of them, the stigma of being laughed at that their mothers or their whatever, they're not back in schools, and the economy that is biting. And if you want to know Go to the low society. Go to those who are marginalized.
Yes.
Go to those who are not doing economical. Go to the slums. They are not yet there. They are not yet there. And we were trying to make some
progress.
strides.
Yes.
There was some slight progress where we had gotten everybody. Remember when the CS was mopping students, taking them to school and all that. You reach school. Yes, you're in school, but how are you going to survive if you don't have what you need in school? When they close and come back home, they're coming with a letter that they have a fee balance. So if it has not been paid, and even if the fee has been paid, if they don't have the necessities to use in school, they'll go back home. So one day in a day school at home, another day they are absent.
Inconsistency.
So there is inconsistency. So we have been drawn back by COVID-19 and the harsh economic conditions.
All right.
We are not out of the bush.
We're not out of the bush now. So far from what Madame Salome is saying, we are still in a dark place. And looking at these adults now, for example, if it is the young children that might be suffering the harsh economic times and quote unquote sometimes even suicidal parents, how hard can it be for the citizens, the senior citizens who are trying to pursue education in this day and age? She's mentioned certain things that we might need to actually pursue adult education programs. Now, before we get into that, let me hear from you the analysis of how far we are, even in those institutions, to ensure that adult education programs are a reality.
I think what she has just said is that we've made a step behind instead of going ahead.
Okay.
Because after the COVID-19 came, most of the parents lost their jobs. Most of the families became disorganized families. Most of the people, like in our institutions, where I come from, some of them went back to the villages. And you know, when we talk about adults, we are talking about 15 to 70 years in between. These are people who cannot be accommodated in a normal class setup. So they have to prepare or to create time for themselves to go and vent for themselves before they come to class. So after all this economic hard time, most of them were not able to go back to class, and therefore it's very difficult now at this point to start helping them to come back, especially those who shifted, those who lost their jobs, those now who have school fees, consistent school fees, like every 2 or 3 weeks you have to pay some school fees to your children.
Yes.
And they are like, now, do I pay for myself or I pay for my children? So there is that.
It's a dilemma.
That dilemma amongst the parents.
So do I pay for myself or do I pay for my children?
Who goes to school when you're hungry? You have the children who need to feed.
Yes.
They're supposed to be in school, they don't have food. You're supposed to look for that food. You're supposed to go back to class and learn to be able to manage. So who goes to school at that level? And the few teachers that we have, that means the disparity between the centers.
Okay.
You find somebody has to work. You know, an adult is in need, but now you leave your needs and focus on the needs of the family first. So those are some of the challenges we are facing.
Okay. All right, I like that you've mentioned. We'll still go deeper into these challenges because I'm sure they're more than what you have mentioned.
Yeah, they're more.
Distance has come in, financial, stability has come in, and even having to choose you, over your children or your children over you. A lot more challenges. If there's anybody watching this morning who is actually interested in the ACE programs or is part of it, please share your thoughts as well as we celebrate you today because they make a lot of sacrifices as well. Also challenge Madame Salome in studio as far as devolution is concerned. And in your county, how are the programs in your county? How spread are they? We're coming to that as well. Now, someone would start asking, how relevant is this conversation? Someone would say, tumekuja na wazungu, is it a modern thing? Did it start yesterday? Let me give you a bit of history, and then we can also come to your thoughts on how devolution has affected, the adult education programs. Now, the ACE programs in Kenya date back to the coming of the Arab traders. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, European missionaries and explorers, as well as the colonial officials in the late 19th century, who taught the adult converts industrial skills such as carpentry and masonry, in addition to literacy, numeracy, and agricultural skills, so as to have a skilled labor force. All right, now this is not something that started yesterday. The program reached in its near climax in 1979 with the launch of the National Mass Literacy Program, before beginning a downward trend that almost saw its collapse until the recent interventions. True. This is my point here, Mr. Renson.
Yes.
It is not a new thing, but things like devolution are just 10 or 11 years old in this country. True. When we look at devolution, we look at education, we look at CBC now, we're looking at a task force. Parents are saying they want to be part of that task force. I'm coming back to that conversation. But devolution, the evolution of the adult, education program. Let's now leave alone the challenges. So far, how widespread is the program across the country?
Adult and continuing education program is throughout the country. Every ward in this country has an adult education center or a teacher, either on self-help or part-time or full-time.
You are confident?
I am confident. There are officers in all the 47 counties, and they have sub-county officers in around 360 sub-counties.
Okay.
And those officers have teachers. Although the numbers may be few, but at least there are teachers either on part-time basis, on self-help basis, or on full-time basis.
Okay.
So if those teachers are already in place like that, that shows that there's adult and continuing education. And when you talk about devolution, I'm happy. If there is one governor he's now left the county government, is Lonyangapo, Honorable Lonyangapo. That is a man I love. Because this is a man who saw the problem in his community and employed for us around 250 teachers who are carrying on with the program. And believe you me, give West Pokot another five more years, you will see the change. Because education, any form of education for any country to succeed, the education of the parents is very key.
I like when you say education of parents is very key. I remember a narrative when someone says, how should I help my child deal with the CBC homeworks when I do not have the literacy myself? Remember, we are trying to connect that senior citizen to that young generation this morning, not forgetting that they're very vital even in building the next generation. I know parents are good at sending, diaries, do this with your child, but that same parent also needs the literacy. I have 5 minutes to a break, but I want to understand. She has said, fine, it is widespread across the country. We have fewer teachers. You'll give us details and statistics when we come back. But I want to understand from you, Mr. Renson, how is the workload for you now that we have understood quite a few, trained, or qualified people with this particular curriculum, yet we have so many Kenyans, we've saw the statistics, a lot of them elderly who still want to access the program. What is the real picture on the ground as far as training these adults is concerned?
I think the workload is big, I would say that, because adults are not like children. You don't just program them, they program themselves.
True.
And therefore, within that program that we develop together with them, it becomes very hectic, especially when you want to implement the curriculum, because the curriculum has a timeline.
All right.
And we are working with the time. And therefore, the work is much more, especially when we are working towards timeline, and especially for those who are part-time teachers, because they have only 2 hours in a day, then for 3 days in a week. And therefore, if they delay to come, you realize that you will have some more extra...
A
backlog of work. And therefore, you may need to create another time for them outside the normal time that you have been allocated by the government.
And there we go. When we talk about this kind of work, it just reminded me. I'm bringing you that story of the CBC development shortly, where parents are now demanding to be part of the task force. But the remuneration. We've seen teachers.
Just a rejoinder.
Yes.
When you say the parents are seeking to be put in the task force,
yes,
yeah, that's fine. I'm not complaining. Do you know majority of Kenyans are illiterate on CBC? Because right now, even you, Madam Angie, if your small daughter came or your small son came home with homework, they want you to help them calculate the simple mathematics, maybe addition of 3 digits. You remember we used to do the take away and car away and add to this. Now there is a new language, break apart. Do you know it? Do you know it? What is this?
All right, just hold it there. Let me just give that to the viewer. Which is that new term again?
Break apart.
Okay, now break apart for parents watching this morning. Please let us know if you're familiar with these new terminologies. And as far as being an elderly or older citizen in the life of the young ones, or just trying to maneuver around the current developments in the country, how far are you? What are your thoughts on, of course, this particular development as far as honoring the senior citizens is concerned? We'll take a short breather. The conversation continues right here on The Morning Drift. Don't go too far away.
Day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Welcome back. We are still in this conversation. My guests and experts are still on set discussing the adult, continuous program as far as education is concerned, just honoring the senior citizens in this country as an extension of the 1st of October, which is an international day for older persons. Now, welcome back on set. But indeed, the milestones towards achieving adult literacy were recognized soon after independence in 1963 with the aims of adult education, which were identified including to curb illiteracy, like I mentioned earlier on, impart relevant knowledge, and of course my guests will let us how relevant this knowledge is, the skills and attitude for survival, foster self-esteem and inculcate desirable behavior in as far as life and society are concerned. With these objectives in mind, the initial subject matter in the adult education program included literacy, health and nutrition, family life, agriculture, environmental studies, and civics. Welcome back.
Thank you.
This is really written and beautiful to, hear. But in Kenya, we have discovered a disconnect between what is written and the practical thing on, in action. So there's always a disconnect in our policies, in our laws. I do not know how it is a reality in the adult, continuous program for you. But you were saying something when we took a short breather on the disconnect between the CBC and those who ought to help the younger generation understand the CBC. If you'd pick it from that, and we hear from Mr. Renson as well on why still it is important that our parents and elderly or older persons get literate, basic education.
The beauty about adult education, we never diverted from what we were supposed to offer.
Okay.
Because we are dealing with a generation that has a lot of knowledge. They know how to live, but they are facing challenges. So when you're talking about, if it is the numeracy and the literacy, imparting those skills, we offer them at the functional literacy level because our learners come to class to learn and earn. So, for example, a learner comes to class, they have just come because they sell mandazis and they're not able to keep the records. So this learner is coming to class with the knowledge of how to make mandazis. Another one just came to class wanting to know how to read the Bible. So when these two learners meet, This one will also learn to read the Bible, and this one will learn how to make mandazis, and they will both learn how to keep records, because you can only just read the Bible and be able to live. You need, God allows us to use our hands. He gives us wisdom. We need to use our hands. And so you see, we are still offering that relevant knowledge. And COVID has brought us now back to reality. When COVID came up, we needed to communicate to the whole world, to the whole Kenyan population.
Yes.
What is this COVID? When we are crossing this nose, how do we put on the mask?
Yes.
Those are things that if the adult education instructors are trained on these health issues, they are supposed to, they're able to teach the learners in the classes, and they'll go on. If it's agriculture, we are still having problems with the food.
Sure.
And we are talking, the president has said they're going to bring about hydroponic farming. Who are the farmers? It is these adults.
The older generation.
Even those youths that you're talking about, some of them dropped out of school.
Yes.
Those who have gone through school and they are educated, they are still thinking of white-collar job. I have my degree, I need the white-collar job. You need them back there. They're talking, they cannot dirty their hands. They can do hydroponic. And how do they do hydroponic? They need to be trained. And how will they do that? The extension officers can use our teachers. If we are given enough teachers, they teach adult education, they teach a whole wide range of things.
All right.
From business skills, from agriculture, even preserving the food that they are harvesting. How many of those farming counties, Uasin Gishu, is high, and the very maize is not there, yet it's the basket of the farming in maize in Kenya. So what is this that we're talking about? How do they preserve this maize?
Okay.
Those are things that are taught by us.
And I really like that we are going to come back to you. And I like how you put it in perspective, how it is important and why each of these people, including the farmers, and all these other adults need this particular information. And I want to hear from you, sir. Yes. You said there's a timeline. What timeline are we looking at to cover all these, things that, of course, Madam Salome is putting in perspective? Are we looking at 2 years? Are we looking at 8 months? Because as we talk about the timelines, we're looking at people who are working, we're looking at people who are family-oriented, and how achievable is it? Is it a realistic timeline, or do we also have to go back and build a task force to check on adult education programs?
I think it's not just about the task force, it's just to review the current trend of life.
Trend of life?
Yes.
Quite interesting.
Things are changing. The world is changing. There are people who have learned numeracy. There are people who have learned language.
Yes.
But we look at technology. Technology is something different. We are looking at hands-on trade jobs. Things like masonry, tailoring, dressmaking. Because if somebody never had that opportunity to go to school, so he can't get employed, and the only work he can do, like where I come from, most of these women I deal with, they go to Isili, where the Somali group is, wash clothes, earn 200 or 150, then come back in the evening. If this lady who would not go to school is empowered to do something to learn hands-on trade, she can go put up her own maybe hair salon, sewing machine, then she works.
Yes.
As she continues learning, and also how to prepare the record of work. I've earned today, how do I spend my money? How do I budget?
Yes.
Those are the issues that we are struggling with. She's just talked about agriculture.
Yes.
Nairobi, we are struggling with issues of HIV/AIDS. We are struggling with issues of spirituality, because even spirituality is very important. People need to go to church. And at the moment, you look at the way the super preachers are preaching prosperity gospel. This man is in dilemma. The pastor is reading the Bible, he's speaking something, the man or the woman does not know the Bible, so whatever is being preached and what is written is different. So when we empower them to know how to read by themselves, they cannot be lured away from the truth of the gospel. So look, when we look at all that,
yes,
we can't just say there is a specific timeline that this adult learning is timeless. if I will say that.
But
it's
the program?
timeless. But the program...
Yeah, because I think we're more on the program, like if I enrolled right now. But I really appreciate what you have said. Learning is something that never ends, and we really appreciate that. But the program, you know, like a degree would go 4 years, you know, how is it like for...
Maybe just to bring it closer.
Yes.
An adult comes to class with a need. So those who really want to know how to read and write, just the basic, know how to read, write, do basic numeracy, it takes around 6 to 9 months.
All right.
You're through, you do the proficiency exam, and you're given a certificate.
Beautiful.
Then from there, you go to post-literacy. Post-literacy, those skills you attained at basic literacy, we are now enhancing them, retaining them, and sharpening them, which will take you another 1 year. In that 1 year, you'll be through with that, and now you can now join the, if it was the formal, the formal system of education, you're joining at around standard 5.
Okay.
Now standard 5, you can now study your tuition, and when you're ready, because you know an adult's brain is not like a child's brain, they focus. Within 2 years, you'll be able to do KCP.
Beautiful.
And once you've done your KCP and you've passed, what was your aim? Did you want to go to high school? You cannot join the formal high school. So we have the adult secondary continuing education program, which is spread throughout the country. In Nairobi, we have about about 23 centers offering the same, starting with St. Peter Clever. So you enter there. We are trying to look at the way we can have an accelerated program for these learners, because this is an adult who has come to class ready to learn.
Yes.
They will not go wasting time. If NEC would just look at it and say they take 2 years, then these people can be prepared to do their KCSE and move on.
Okay, so that's not yet in place.
That is, we are still grappling with that. We've tried to bring it up, but you know, the rigidity and all that, but we hope somebody will look into that and it will come to pass.
Yeah, I like this. I like, because that is really timely. We have a new regime that is really focused on working with people in the grassroots. You do realize the bottom-up approach has been quite something in Ruto's regime and plan and manifestos. So like you have said, we are hoping that someone actually comes up, tables this, and really runs with it. But even as we're speaking, the comment section is getting more engaging. I'll be looking at your feedback shortly. And speaking of moving forward, you know, we have just touched on a few things when we started as challenges. We cannot run away from the fact that senior citizens have for a long time felt marginalized or stigmatized. All right, we saw during the the last examinations, someone in the prisons, way older, sat his one of the national examinations very proudly, and I would love to understand how you're doing it around the stigmatization so far, because I feel Kenyans are still learning to understand that a 70-year-old could be in the same classroom with their son or with their daughter and not make them feel uncomfortable. How do you deal with stigmatization for your pupils, or rather your, I don't know how, your learners?
We call them learners. I think it's a struggle, and we prepare them psychologically, because you need to prepare them.
How do you prepare them?
Talk to them, make them understand that it's not their fault. Because some of these parents, adults, if they were given opportunity then to go to school, they could have learned. But they lacked opportunities. Some of them, their upbringing could not allow them to go back to school. So they were out of school by default, and therefore we just encourage them. And from what they want to achieve in life, we build on that. I had a lady who was doing class 8, and the son was doing form 4. And they were all in class. They want, each one of them want to pursue their own career. The lady want to pursue her career, the son want to pursue their career. And the lady is in class 8, doing the class 8.
Yes.
Now what happens, what she just mentioned is that then when it comes to registration of exams, it's become very, very difficult for them, because they have to register just as private candidates.
Okay.
I know some of them, even raising that amount of money to register as a private candidate, it becomes very hard. So if only the government will look at that and say, yes, we have these senior citizens who want to go back to school, can we also waive their registration fee, for example, for the NEC exams. We waiver their registration fee. Then we'll have more of them registering and sitting for the exams.
So currently there is nothing special for them. It is as standard as everyone else.
Not as standard as everyone else.
Sorry to interject, we'll come back to you.
It's not as standard as everyone else because the formal schools and the academies have been waived the fee to register for the examinations. Our candidates have not been given that waiver. So they have to dig deep into the pocket and register for the examination, be it KCP or KCSE. And then also, before I forget, you're talking about how do we handle this stigmatization.
Yes, because I'm sure it's still there.
Seriously, Kenyans, I look at Kenyans and wonder. I thank God I come from a family where my parents were educated. But I keep asking Kenyans, how do you feel when your mother or your father is illiterate? You've sent them a message on phone that you've sent maybe 200,000. They go, it's somebody else who has to read. You're putting the risk of this parent of yours, the life of this parent of yours at risk. So I've kept telling many people I come across, just let them come. You know, when you get to class and learn, when you're walking to class to learn, it's not written on your face, I'm going to class to learn.
Okay.
Your parent will just get to class and learn. The only sad thing is when they go to the primary schools, which you have been requesting will be given classes because we don't have classes of our own.
So there are no separate classes?
There are no separate classes. We don't have our own because literacy is adult education is a shared responsibility.
Yes.
So we've been requested to be using schools in primary schools, classes in primary schools, social halls, and churches.
Yes.
And the sad thing is, you go to a primary school, they are giving you an ECD class. Look at this, the furniture in the ECD class. It's a problem. You go to the church, now the churches had a communique in the year around 2014 there, with adult education that they shall offer us their buildings, so that because these learners are their congregants.
All right.
Now they have reached a place they don't want us in their churches. They want us to pay. How do you tell this learner to pay? For what purposes? And yet when you're making this learner literate, your gain is to preach, and they'll even be able to pay tithe, and you move on.
Okay.
And then if you go to social halls, they have been taken over by vijanas. The vijanas, some of them are literate, some are not literate. Walk to Italy. They are busy playing pool, they are busy doing their own things. They are illiterate, they cannot communicate in Kiswahili or English. Maybe they studied the Arabic system. But those social halls, if they were given to us and we have teachers, we can just use about just half a day and leave them to have recreation. So those are some of the challenges we are seeing. It's we Kenyans. And the worst thing is the learned group looks down on these ones who are not educated. They are stigmatizing them, speaking wrongly, talking about Kumbaru. Let me tell you, the type of illiterates we are dealing with are not the 1963 illiterates that we were dealing with when we are getting independent.
All right.
These are people who have some idea. It's just that they need somebody to put them in the right perspective and give them the skills.
And I like that you're saying these things with Mr. Renson here with us. We cut you short, sir, but we really wanted that addition to what you were saying. So you could pick it from where you were. You left it. And if these challenges really are, you know, what you're probably going through as well, you could add a few solutions to it.
That issue of Gumbaro, you know, Gumbaro is by the name itself, stigmatization.
Yes, I will, on behalf of us all, request that the viewer understands the need to use that word on set this morning for relatable reasons. And of course, we are saying it's not the best terminology to use, but just to make it clear that it is one of those terminologies that stigmatizes the senior citizens that we hope we do away with as time goes by. You may proceed, sir.
So using those words like Gumbaro, using words like wazee wa kusoma, using the terms that we use to give them, sometimes you hear them saying, you are just wasting your time. Wewe mwalimu wa wazee, you know, like even myself.
They even stigmatize the teachers.
You go to a primary school, like there's a time I went to one of the primary schools and asked, because I wanted to get some space and to talk to the parent during the parents' day, and I told them I am an adult education instructor from Kamgunji, so I want just to talk to the parents in this school and share about what we are doing. So during the introduction, the head teacher stands up and says, kuna mwalimu wa Kumbaro, wa kufundisha walimu wa Kumbaro is here. You know, that terminology itself, it put me off. Then it puts the learners off, because there's someone who wants to approach me and say, yeah, I want to be part of this class. But
Yes.
now already those words that they use, and then they are not ready to accept these adults to learn in their institution, just the way she said.
All right.
Like the primary schools that we have, the government schools, because
Okay.
we use the government schools mostly for learning. Churches, yes, we have issues, but sometimes it's minor issues, unlike the government school, because the government school, they just say, no, if you are not a government officer, then we are not going to give you. Go and bring the letter from the education office, you go and bring the letter, and those bureaucracy, like if the city council school, go to the city hall, bring the letter from the city hall.
I think that is in order, however, the documentation?
It's not really in order. I mean, this is an instructor who has been sent in your community to help you educate the parents.
So how do we know that this is an instructor certified and allowed? Because I'm sure there should be something to show.
Before we send an instructor to a place, they have an appointment letter.
All right.
And we've also given even an introduction letter that this is so-and-so seeking to get space to educate these teachers, to educate these parents and adult learners. But the funny thing is, we are in the same ministry. So when you're sending this teacher back to me, the instructor back to me, I go to the regional director again to look for a letter. I mean, we just need them to understand.
Okay.
When we educate the parents, we are making their work easy. It will even be much, much more easy if they have educated parents.
All right, I like that, and we're going to come back to this conversation, and I hope that each stakeholder is watching this morning. Now, as we take a short breather from the conversation, here are developments on matters education as far as the CBC curriculum is concerned. And remember, these same parents, all right, not each of them actually got to actually, read and learn, and are not literate enough to guide their young ones even through the now being reviewed CBC. So let's take a look at this particular development, which of course is coming in from the newsroom as far as parents' demand to be involved in the task force is concerned. We come back to close this conversation shortly, but first, here is a highlight on matters education.
A task force to evaluate the state of CBC in the country. There have emerged hue and cry with the National Parents Association now appealing for representation of at least 2 officials in the CBC task force. Parents are key stakeholders in education sector.
It would be a misplacement for the task force to come up with the recommendations touching on parents when their national leaders are not incorporated in the task force, because whatever will be recommended may have very negative effect on the parents and their children. We are therefore appealing to His Excellency the President to consider appointing to the task force at least 2 of our top officials of the organization, because we are the ones who interact with the common parents at the grassroots levels.
The association pleads with the task force to give the report on CBC before November against the 6-month plan. The request follows the fear that the report might scrap off CBC, thereby displacing the Class 6 students who are set to sit their national exams in November ahead of joining junior high school.
Transition. Unaona hii task force imeformiwa on 30th, last Friday. Mwezi wa Novemba mwishowe wanafunzi wa darasa la 6 grade 6 wanafaa wakalie national assessment ya kutransit kwenda junior secondary school. Hawa wanafunzi hawajatayarishwa.
The association blames the government for the implementation of a not well-planned system, as there is barely any infrastructure to support the system. There will be a shortage in CBC-trained teachers, as only a few have undergone the CBC training, and the students are bound to suffer.
Infrastructure. Bwana Magoha amekuwa akitembea katika mashule akisema anajenga madarasa. Katika secondary schools hakuna madarasa huko. Infrastructure ambayo iko katika secondary schools, mabweni, madarasa ni chache sana ambazo haziwezi kuaccommodate ama kuchukua transition ya hawa watoto sahi
Professor Raphael Munavu-led task force is set to review the CBC system before handing over its recommendations to the head of state.
Mr. Kobia.
Mudeundalana, Lookuptv.
All right, welcome back. That is just to give you a highlight on the current education issues right here in the country. That is just parents who are also honored as senior citizens demanding that they be fully involved in the CBC review because they're directly also, they're directly part of this as far as helping their children is concerned. Now, we want to wrap up this conversation, but just to give you a bit of a summary on the challenges as highlighted by our experts in studio are concerned in regard to adult education or adult continuous program. The implementation of adult education in Kenya, of course, you'd say the implementation of adult and continuing education in Kenya faces a myriad of challenges ranging from poor leadership and funding, as well as attitude to low learning achievement learnings among the affected learners. It is worth noting that while the Constitution emphasizes on devolution in as far as management of education is concerned, policy making largely remains the responsibility of the national government. Such a scenario could partially explain the challenges the delivery of ACE in the country is grappling with. Unreliable data, for example, is another challenge in as far as governance and management of ACE is concerned. Now, before I close this particularly, without legal provisions in place to guard against misinformation or non-cooperation with respect to relevant data, as you have mentioned, matters of cooperation, those in charge of departments as well as institutions release data that is hardly reliable to fit their unique circumstances or hide their shortcomings. Now, the Kenya National Adult Literacy Survey report established that 61.5% of the adult population, that is those aged 15 years and above, had only achieved the minimum level of literacy, meaning that 38.5% or a whopping 7.8 million others were illiterate. Not a very beautiful survey, not very beautiful, numbers there. 7.8 or probably even more in 2022. I'm giving you probably a few minutes each to bring out solutions to ensuring that this is something we can maneuver around, and that even as we are fighting for the young generation, we are not letting go of the senior citizens who are still interested, like you said, in learning. Madam, I'll start with you and give your conclusive, remarks as far as this is concerned. And thank you very much for representing the county levels.
Thank you very much. One thing I would like to say is thank you to the government, at least for granting us a chance to reach the senior citizens. And when they granted us that chance, we need their support. Because if you look at the funding of the program, it has gone down. We are expected from the world, from the conference, Confintef, to get around 3% of the Ministry of Education funding, but we get less than even 1%, which is risk. We know resources are scarce, but now we're calling upon the incoming government for the Hustler Fund to succeed, so that there is no even, the age they're not going to suffer, because even the 2,000 you're giving them, it's being stolen by somebody. Please just support adult education by giving us resources, give us teachers, give us the books, give us the vehicles. Let us have a vibrant adult education the way it started in 1979. And if you give that to us even for the next 5 years, you will see a great change. We are calling upon the organization and NGOs to please come on board. The churches, come on board. Let us help our senior citizens plus the youths who have dropped out of school, because they form bulk. And if you look at the people who voted in for the president, they are the senior citizens. The youth did not have the voters' cards. So please give back to this older generation, because they are the ones, when the youth will be busy doing the economic building, the senior citizens will be taking care of the children when they are educated, and we'll have a nice time.
I like that.
Support us.
All right, Mr. Renson, I want to just give you a minute, sir, just to close this in your own words. Just a minute, sir.
Just like the way the government has been so hard on back to school for the children, the government should be hard on back to school for the adults.
All right.
It should advocate using the chiefs, the local authorities, and all other people. And then the other thing, the government should like as they are going to review the CBC to look at the task force of the CBC should include, it must include the adult education, because these children tomorrow they will be adults who dropped out of school at that point. So we need to incorporate the adult education, literacy into the CBC so that there's a smooth transition. Because next year, if everything goes the way it is, we are no longer going to have adult education because children are supposed to enroll in grade 3, and therefore they go with that. Adult drops at grade 7, some drop at grade 5, so if they will not be part of the system.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your input. We've really loved this conversation and love to appreciate first your time and your sentiments. And I hope that this actually is picked by somebody watching back at home for the betterment of this particular country, because an educated nation is a nation that is working, and that then means that even our GDP is set to rise, because it is that mama mboga, it is that grandmother, it is that auntie back at home from the grassroots that is an actual project of the bottom-up economy. Thank you very much for watching The Morning Drift, and in honor of our senior citizens, share this particular link with the rest of your family and loved ones as we continue to empower our senior generation. My name is Ankey Dorice. Simba Elijah Charles Kiage comes in with Look at Business. One thing you do not want to miss. Stay powerful, stay at your best. See you tomorrow, same place, same time.
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Maki Wambogo, Sales Manager of Optiven Real Estate, and I'm here at our head office, Absa Towers, located at Reuters Street. Today, I'm here to talk about our newest project, that is Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, and it is located only 10 minutes drive from Cedar Mall. And in this project, we have proposed that we will be having a GMC Entertainment Center. This will be a replica of what we have in Kitengela, GMC Kitengela. We are also proposing a police post, so you are assured that security, once you invest here, security is good. And we are also proposing to have a playing ground. We are also going to have a community ground. So once you invest here, you don't have to worry about the security. The other things, among